College Vice. I'm Zach Blackerby. He with the awesome-looking collar. That is Brad Law. Everybody in the comments tell him how great his collar looks. He will love it. He will love it. The portal is open. The portal is moving and grooving. I think, as the kids say, it's bussin', Brad. But I think before we really jump into who all Auburn is losing via the portal, I think it's important to look at how Hugh wants to construct a roster, right? We talked a bunch going into the season about how he loves 16 scholarship offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. These other rooms are a little bit more fluid, but I do think it's worth looking at. So let's start with the quarterback room, everyone's favorite room, because everybody assumed, myself included, that Auburn would make changes in the quarterback room. And as we record this Thursday morning, that hasn't happened, Brad Law. So last year, Auburn went into the season with 4 quarterbacks on scholarship: Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, Holden Geriner, and Hank Brown, the baby goat. And now with Walker White coming in, the true freshman, Auburn is sitting with 5 potential scholarship quarterbacks. So my question to you is, since nothing has changed so far, do you think anything's going to change, or is Auburn really going to have 5 quarterbacks on scholarship going into this season?
It's just hard to believe that it would look the same. I mean, I think they would love, I think the coaches would love for everyone to stay, and everyone, competition is what I think this coaching staff is after, whether that's 5 guys, 4 guys, 3, you want more than 3, but what they want is competition.
Okay.
And I think that's been clear. I remember doing an event with Coach Freeze back during the summer, and he said, every year, I want the quarterbacks to know that they're going to try to out-recruit your position. And I don't think it's just at quarterback. I think every year, every position, they're going to try to bring in talent, either in the freshman class or through the portal, that's better to push the current players. And if you don't want competition, you don't fit within the culture of the program. So I just find it hard to believe the room remains the same. Now, whether that's before spring or after spring, different conversation. I just, law of averages tell me that these rooms don't stay, the quarterback room just doesn't stay the same anywhere in this modern era.
Yeah, so I don't think Peyton's going anywhere. If he does, I think it'll be after spring. And I think he'd have to see the writing on the wall that he wasn't the guy. I don't think anything's changed for that to be impacted.
Yeah.
Robbie, my understanding is he can't leave. He already used his free transfer to go from Oregon to Auburn. And it sounds like he doesn't graduate till later in next year. So I don't think that's on the table. Talked to folks close to Holden not that long ago. I think he's riding in the spring. Hank Brown, he seems happy. He's going into spring. And then Walker White, he's as fired up as anybody. So as far as going into spring, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think there may be some things that potentially change after spring, maybe. And some of that might be the coaches saying something. Some of it may be the player making his own decision. I don't know. But as of right now, I think those 5 players will all still be here when spring starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree. Okay. I'm very interested to see what happens during spring, and then after, if what the reps look like during spring. Robbie, I guess, could, if he wanted to, drop down a level without penalty, right? Isn't that you could?
Yeah,
still
that's
go
a
to
rule.
The FCS
yeah,
level?
Sure, that's a rule. Right.
But
I don't think he does that.
Yeah,
I don't think he should, but he could do that.
Yeah, no, again, there are a lot worse positions to be in than a backup quarterback who potentially would have, again, I don't think what we saw in the Iron Bowl or in November is necessarily a sentence for Robbie going forward. I mean, I think you can continue to talk about special packages and situational usage for Robbie and be a part of this team going forward. Maybe a different conversation for a different day, but
sure.
Yeah, the other guys, again, I'll just be very curious to see what happens with the breakdown of reps during spring and see if any of these guys feel differently at that point.
Are you surprised that it kind of seems like Auburn may not add a quarterback in the portal? And if they don't add a quarterback in the portal, What do you think the narrative throughout this fan base is?
Oh, throughout the fan, I don't know. It's tough to speak for the fan base. I think you do a better job because you interact with the general fan base every day, maybe a little more or differently than I do.
Okay.
I think there's growing sentiment I don't know if it's growing within the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff feels comfortable with Peyton. I think they want competition. Again, you never run, and I think Peyton wants competition. If you're an elite player in any sport at any level, you embrace competition. You've got an internal drive to be better, and the most effective way to get better is to be pushed by somebody else who's on an equal playing field. So this narrative that, guys don't want competition or they're afraid of, you hear it in recruiting. Like you bring in a 5-star wide receiver and you go, well, what does he feel about competition? These guys feel like they're the best.
Yeah.
They already feel like they can embrace competition. So I'm a little surprised, I guess, that they haven't brought in anybody, or they don't seem to be targeting guys at this point. But I think it should say a lot about how they feel about the current quarterbacks that are in their room, that they feel supremely confident in that group.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they like Holden. I think they like Holden Geriner a lot. And we'll see what the reps look like in spring. You're certainly right. You're certainly right on that.
If you're bringing in a guy who's going to be like true competition, you also have to think about this. You don't have an endless NIL war chest, right? It's not endless. It's good. Auburn's in a really good position, but it's not like it's endless. And it's going to cost. NIL's a factor if you want to bring in a top tier quarterback to challenge or compete with Peyton. So
yeah.
Would you rather put those dollars into a different position where there are a few more questions? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Like, would you rather have 2 new offensive linemen or 1 really good quarterback? It's like, I'd rather have 2 good offensive linemen, I think.
Yeah.
And keep Peyton around. So
yeah.
I'm with you.
Versus a quarterback who may not start, may not play significant snaps. If Peyton I mean,
sure. I don't think they would spend that much money and not start the person, but sure, I get it. Speaking of money, let's make some money.
I love it.
And mybookie.ag.
What a brilliant transition. It's why you're the best.
Oh, stop it. Mybookie.ag is truly the best. Auburn, a 2.5-point favorite over Maryland, Brad. You need to head over to mybookie.ag. Hugh Freeze can fire up a team for bowl games.
Yeah.
I'm taking Auburn to cover. I think you should too. Head over to mybookie.ag. Put your money where your mouth is. And when you make that first deposit, use promo code next round and then boop. Did you hear that sound? Boop. That's more money being added to your account, courtesy of mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. Boop. Free money. There you go. Mybookie.ag. Wide receiver in a much different situation than quarterback. So last year, Auburn went into the season with 10 wide receivers on scholarship, not counting Rivaldo Fairweather. So now, as it currently sits, with Jair Shorter in the portal, Shane Hooks and Nick Mardner running out of eligibility, and Amari Kelly and Malcolm Johnson Jr. entering the portal, what you're looking at now are 4 true freshmen coming in, and Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, and Malcolm Simmons, and then 5 guys that are still currently on the roster: Javarius Johnson, Coy Moore, Cam Brown, Jay Fair, and Caleb Burton. Of those, I think the only one that cannot leave is Caleb Burton, unless he wants to sit out a year or transfer down. I don't think that's happening. I think Caleb Burton is important to the staff, and I think he realizes that. Coy Moore, I believe, will graduate sometime this offseason, but I don't think Coy Moore is leaving. We'll see. But Javarius Johnson and Jay Fair are very interesting. Cam Brown put out a kind of a cryptic tweet earlier in the week. I think that was him saying that he's going to stay, which is great. So assuming none of these guys leave, and I think one of them will leave, maybe 2, Auburn is rocking with 9 guys on scholarship. That's assuming all of these guys stay, which I don't think they will. And that's assuming Ryan Williams does not flip from Alabama to Auburn.
Okay.
And so we're looking at 9. I think they're going to want to go into the season with 10. And I just can't shake the feeling, Brad, that they're going to go out and get one guy that can play outside wide receiver via the portal and one guy that can play slot via the portal. And I think that makes even more sense if Javarius Johnson does end up moving on from Auburn.
Yeah. Look at the number of new players they brought in at that position last year. 4 or 5 new guys that weren't on the roster in 22 that they brought in from other not high school freshmen, so not in the freshman class, but transfers. Like 5 pass catchers, including Rivaldo.
Yeah, so it would have been Caleb Burton, Jair Shorter, Shane Hooks, Nick Mardner were the 4 transfers a year ago.
Yep. I think 2. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they look at 2 receivers from the portal, and they've made multiple offers to this point. Guys from South Alabama and Georgia State and Vanderbilt. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if you get 2, because I think you feel very good. You feel as good about a freshman class of receivers as we felt in a long time, like about their ability to come in and contribute right away, not about their talent level. Like their talent level, everybody kind of across the board agrees that it's there. But it's one thing to be talented. It's another thing to be ready and expected to step in. It's been since the days of Ben Obamanu and Devin Aromashadu, where you thought game 1, 2002, those guys are going to have the chance to make an impact. And they did.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at the same thing from the freshman class, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket. So you need a couple of guys who have done it. And so, yeah, I think 2 is the number that I would look at.
Yeah, then the newest offer, according to On3, is Xavier Thomas. He is a wide receiver from Mississippi State, but you hinted at South Alabama. Of course, you're referring to Colin Lacey, who's he's a 1,000-yard receiver at that level of competition. Does that translate? I don't know. But in-state kid, I think that'd be an important win if Auburn could pull in Colin Lacey. And then I think the fan favorite in the portal right now is Will Shepherd. You hinted at Vanderbilt. That's who you're referring to, is Will Shepherd. So I like the timeline of some of these kids that have 1 year left. I really think the stopgap of just kind of, all right, we need you for a year to be an older guy and a very young receiver room. Yeah. And then after that, you got to hand the keys off to, Cam and Perry and Bryce and Malcolm. I think that makes a ton of sense. But we'll see. They've got to land the guys first.
Yeah, no, they do. And I think if you go back and look at some of the superstar freshman receivers in the SEC in the last 15 years, you'll find that those guys are able to produce in their freshman years. Like it's not a strange thing for a freshman to come in and get 500-600 yards in his true freshman season. But if you can go get a guy who's, and particularly this is to me, right? This is not the football staff. I've not been in those meetings. I have absolutely nothing to do with the football recruiting meetings inside the Performance Center. To me, looking as a fan, I look at somebody who's had SEC experience, who has gone against SEC defensive backs, SEC defensive schemes. Those are the guys that catch my attention. So guys from Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, anywhere else in the league. And that's nothing against guys from lower divisions or different conferences. But it's different in this league. It's even different like from the Pac-12 or the Big Ten. The speed that you face in the secondary, the talent of these DBs is just head and shoulders different. It's above in the SEC. So guys that have done it in this league already, those are the ones that I think get my immediate attention as a fan.
I get it. All right, in a second, Brad, let's talk about some of the guys who've entered the portal from Auburn's point of view. And is it a big deal or not? So that's coming up on Village Vice.
All right, first I got to talk about Manscaped, of course. We're in the holiday season, and, chestnuts are roasting on an open fire, and Jack Frost's not going to be nipping at your nose, if you know what I'm saying. When you order the new Lawnmower 5.0 from our friends at Manscaped, and right now, if you use the promo code VICE, VICE, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping all month long. It's a perfect gift for ladies, if you're watching, for the man in your life, or guys, just treat yourself this holiday season. Make sure that your pants presents are wrapped up nice and neat wherever you go holiday caroling this year. It's manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code VICE.
All right, looking at some of the Auburn guys that have entered the portal, Brad, anybody that really shocks you? So let's start with the receiver.
Okay.
Jair Shorter entering the portal. I'm going to be real. I didn't realize that he could do that. He got another year somehow. This will be like his 25th year playing college football. But Jair Shorter, Amari Kelly, Malcolm Johnson Jr. Any surprises there? Anything that impacts the immediate future of Auburn football there?
I don't think so. I love the talent. Amari Kelly is tremendously talented, and I think he can have success in another, at another place. Malcolm Johnson Jr., terrific speed. I just think his opportunities were going to be limited. It does not. So you'd like somebody with his experience and his veteran presence on the team for sure. But, he probably looked at playing time, snaps, opportunities, and thought he could do it a little, and maybe just needed a change of scenery. So no, none of those really surprised me a whole lot. Of the three, I think you miss Malcolm's experience and locker room presence the most, but I'm not surprised.
Sure, I get that. At tight end, at the time of us recording this, Tyler Fromm is the most recent Auburn Tiger to enter the portal. And I kind of wonder how this went down, Brad. I'm just going to be real with you. I heard some rumblings that Mike O'Reilly was the tight end to watch as far as like, could he enter the portal? And I wonder if this changes that, because Fromm played a lot more than Mike O'Reilly did. Fromm played 151 snaps. Micah played 81 snaps. And as far as the Hugh freestyle offense, like, I think Micah fits what they want to do, especially in life after Rivaldo Fairweather as well. So I don't know. I wonder if these things are related at all or not.
Well, Tyler has graduated, right? He'll be a grad transfer.
Sure.
So he's played a lot of games for Auburn. We will always have Baton Rouge and the Bo Nix scramble and the touchdown. I mean, look, when you're talking about plays of the last 5 years, that play is in your top 3 in all likelihood. So we will always have that. And he's a guy who always had a terrific attitude and kind of, I think, a supreme locker room guy. And I kind of get the sense that, he's graduated. He's got an extra year. If he's got a chance to go somewhere and play, maybe 250 snaps instead of 150, and maybe get targeted 1 or 2 times a game, then great. Yeah. One of those change of scenery, grad transfer type guys in a loaded room. Right. I kind of think it works out best for all parties in that scenario.
Offensive line, nobody's entered the portal yet, so we will see and monitor that over the course of the next few weeks.
Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I think that'll eventually happen. I think it's just a timing thing. They may want to play in the bowl game. I think offensive linemen are wired different than a lot of other positions, just big picture wise. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see some guys leave after the bowl game. Also, wouldn't be shocked if they brought in a few guys and then a ripple effect happened after that. So
that's right.
Defensive line, NC Sledge and Steven Johnson entering the portal. Neither of those really shock me. Brad, anything there for you?
Not really. And I think isn't it interesting that we're conditioning ourselves rightly. We're conditioning ourselves to not be alarmed by numbers that get on up there, like approaching double digits of total numbers of guys. We all now understand. We may not love it, but we all sort of understand that this is the norm. You're going to have 10% or so turnover most years. And so, we're not moved by it a whole lot.
Yeah, I didn't really see a path to playing time for NC Sledge or Steven Johnson.
Right.
So hopefully they find that somewhere else. Like, really, I hope they do. Then the last one we'll talk about, Steven Sings. This is the one that surprised me the most, Brad. In fact, on my other show, I did a thing like, this is how Auburn can win day 1 of the portal. Keep Steven Sings. And then he entered the portal right when everybody woke up. So that was great. But I think from a bodies standpoint, like, you want Steven Sings in that room, but Surely they were okay with him leaving, or at least they would have put up a fight. It doesn't seem like they really put up a fight to keep him, so that's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
So right now the Jack linebacker room is Jalen McLeod, Brenton Williams, and then the 2 incoming freshmen in Jamonta Waller and Joseph Phillips. 2 absolute freaks are coming in, which is exciting. But you don't really see them make that much of a splash early, typically. But these guys are special. Maybe they can do it. And for context, Auburn had 4 Jack linebackers on scholarship going into the season, and right now those are the 4 that are projected to be on scholarship now. So do they add more? I kind of think they're going to, but that's a scholarship count I'm looking at.
Yeah, and if you add one more, can you get, say, half of a Jalen McLeod in terms of productivity just from a transfer ad? Because you're going to get, now you're right in that the Jack linebacker is different than a freshman wide receiver. Freshman wide receivers come in and they're potent frequently enough that you notice it.
Sure.
And you can measure it. Boy, freshman Jack linebackers, edge rushers, even the most explosive guys that Auburn has had in the last generation.
Takes a while.
It takes a couple years. Yeah. So, but can you get out of somebody, say, 25 tackles? Can you get 5 tackles for loss? Can you get 3 sacks?
So, I mean, that's pretty close to Elijah McAllister, right?
Right. If you could get that and also bring in the freshman out of the transfer portal, and that's the guy who's playing, who's backing up or playing with Jalen McLeod, assuming that he stays too, then, I mean, I think that's, you're good. Yeah, that's a net even or even a net gain.
Right. All right, Brad, that's all we got for today's show, but due to my traveling, sorry, everyone, we will have a show up tomorrow as well to wrap up the week. But that about does it for today's show, Brad.
We love the flexibility of our audience, and we appreciate it. You guys are absolutely the best. Yes, until next time, remember, everyone has vices. Everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.